Coming up on Tech News today, is Xbox modding legal? Maybe. That court case is over. Google's taking over copyright. Thank goodness somebody finally did. And Zynga is buying pretty much everything. They can't be stopped. Also, alien life in Arsenic. We'll explain.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Thursday, December 2nd, 2010. Tech News Today is brought to you by Ford and voice-activated sync, featuring true hands-free calling, turn-by-turn directions, 911 assist, and more. Available exclusively on Ford, Lincoln, and Mercury vehicles. And by Slingbox. Watch your favorite TV shows when you're away from home with Slingbox. Check out Slingbox at a Best Buy near you or visit slingbox.com/twit. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Dr. Kiki.
And I'm Jason Howell.
And joining us from across the desert, Mr. Scott Johnson. Hey, Scott.
Hey, how's it going? I'm so glad to be back on TNT. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for being on, filling in. Becky's in her mad pre-holiday situation. So we appreciate you filling in.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure it's nonstop for her, and I cannot wait to hear what crazy consumer gadget I should buy next.
Oh, she'll tell you.
She will tell you. Meanwhile, let's start off with some breaking news from, well, it's not really breaking news, but because it happened last night. But the Xbox modding trial is already over. Federal authorities dismissed the trial. They just said they're dropping the case. This is after Judge Philip Gutierrez went on his little tirade yesterday. There was a 30-minute recess. We didn't know what happened when they got back from recess, but apparently the government said, "Okay, we'll accept the new standard of proof, and we'll forge ahead." And now it looks like, according to Threat Level blog today, the government said, "Yeah, you know what? We're gonna drop that. We're just gonna let that go."
Wow.
They dismissed the trial. They said, based on fairness and justice.
For all.
For great justice, we will drop this trial. Alan Chu, who's the prosecutor from the government, said the government has decided to dismiss the indictment, and now Matthew Crippen will go free.
Interesting. So do you feel like they did this because this is just like, they don't want to get into a fight where suddenly we're going to define all electronic devices like they've defined phones in the DMCA, where they say, all right, well, this is your phone, you bought it, you can unlock it. Because really he's kind of just, messing with the thing he purchased. And it seems like messing around with that law or trying to, fight that, which has already been tried and failed, is kind of a losing battle. So this guy wins this round.
He wins this round. It does not set a precedent.
And that was the question that I was going to
I don't
bring
think.
up. Yeah. Does dismissing the trial set any kind of precedent that would be used in future cases for dropping these kinds of cases, not allowing them to go forward into further trial?
It sounds like the federal authorities, confronted with the 30-minute tirade by Justice Gutierrez yesterday, said, okay, we can accept the new rules, and then reconnoitered overnight and said, we can't win this case under the new rules. Went back in and said, you know what, we're not going to use the two witnesses that the judge called criminals, because maybe that, I don't know, prejudiced the jury.
Maybe just a little.
And we can't deal with this new stuff, so we're just going to let it go rather than set a bad precedent. Because the thing is, the Library of Congress has an exemption to the Digital Millennium Copyright Act saying you have a right to hack certain things, like a phone. For instance, you can jailbreak a phone. But it does not have an exemption for making backup copies of game console games. However, the judge brought that up. So if they had fought this, potentially even if they had won, there might have been they might have had to concede that making backup copies would have been okay, and they don't want to do that.
They can't do that.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know what's interesting about this is the companies themselves, Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, they fight constantly to do what Apple does, really. They try to keep their phones, Apple tries to keep their phone updated all the time. Here's a new version. Go try to hack that for a while until we come up with a new version. So they're always kind of breaking the hack. And Sony's been very aggressive about this. So every time there's a new patch, and it seems like it's every other week, we have a new patch on the PS3 that stops whatever the current hack is. So the companies, this doesn't change their right to be able to upgrade as often as they want, much to the consumer's chagrin if they have to keep installing things, because of this problem. But they can keep doing that. Nothing about this, it doesn't have any real legal standing anyway. Nothing about this really informs the industry and says, hey, Sony or Microsoft, you may as well just give up on updating. They're going to keep doing that. That's their best defense right now.
It's a huge, kind of a stunning win for Crippen to see this. This case was going to trial. He wasn't going to be able to use fair use as a defense. And now, suddenly, after 3 days of trial, he's free. It's over.
He probably didn't expect that.
No, he did not expect that. He said he's kind of stunned. But Google's going to solve all this copyright stuff.
Yay,
because Google will save us all.
Right.
Because they run the world now.
In a very, very nice way.
They've decided that they're going to make copyright work better online. A posting by Kent Walker, the general counsel, says there are 4 ways that they're going to change things at Google to make copyright work better. Number 1, they're going to act on reliable copyright takedown requests within 24 hours, which means speeding up their response to takedown requests, and improving the counter notice tools so that if you think a takedown request is a mistake, you can have something restored. This includes not just search, but also tools like Blogger and things like that. I don't know if it includes YouTube. It doesn't say that specifically. Point number 2, they'll prevent terms that are closely associated with piracy from appearing in autocomplete.
Whoa.
So this is similar to how they stop porn terms from showing in autocomplete. Right?
Yeah, and they do. The problem with the porn term thing is there are a lot of terms that you can start with. I want to say the word breast won't autocomplete. I could be wrong about that. But there are words where you could take it to mean something, but
no autocomplete.
Yeah, they don't autocomplete anything that there's any kind of iffy question about. And I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I like the idea that my kids won't accidentally start typing something I don't want them to see and have that autocomplete a bunch of stuff I don't want them to go to.
Right.
But it just seems like that's a really weird line to try to cross.
It is a weird line, and we've talked about it before. Like, there's going to be these terms that are sort of on the borderline and could lead one way or the other. It's going to be even worse. I mean, with porn, there are some terms that I can imagine only would lead to porn. There's just certain phrases. But it's more difficult with copyright infringement. Unless you're typing in copyright infringement site. I'm
going to type in pirated video games.
Maybe, maybe that would, But most people don't do that. They search for a title of something they want and then add the word torrent. Well, you're going to stop the word torrent?
Maybe.
Because torrents, there's perfectly legal torrents. You can't do that.
I can understand them wanting to do this or kind of moving in this direction, because if you did go to the site and you put in just a legitimate title to a movie, the suggestion that would come down probably within the top 2 or 3 was always the name of that movie and then torrent right next to it. You know what I mean? So I can understand they're going in this direction and
so now
going to automatically steer you to the illegal download. You know what I mean?
Right, but torrent that makes Google the judge and jury of torrents.
Absolutely.
And equating and making torrents synonymous puts them in even more of a weird position of being the arbiters of language. Now, not just for dirty language.
Well, it all fits.
But
they're doing their natural language search, and they're doing all sorts of language stuff as well. So
this will be a chance for us to see what they do
first. Fits in the ecosystem.
Because we're going to have to wait and see, right? Because we're not going to know if I look up Warcraft torrent, which is important to me because it so happens that Blizzard updates their games using a torrent system.
Yes,
and they call it a torrent P2P background downloader.
And so
if
now
I do a search for that,
they've got to keep track of which places have authorized torrents and which don't.
Where it's good and where it's not.
Yeah, I don't like that.
As of now, torrent is still in the autocomplete.
Right. This is something they haven't implemented yet. The other 2 things they're going to do, they're going to improve the AdSense anti-piracy review. They've always prohibited the use of AdSense on web pages that provide infringing materials, but they're going to work with rights holders to identify and expel violators from the AdSense program. So that's just cracking down more on that. And they're going to experiment making authorized preview content more readily accessible. So this is the only positive rule they're putting into place, which is working with the content rights holders to make authorized content easier to get to. So when you are searching legitimately for something, you're not presented with all of the infringing content. You're actually presented with the authorized content.
Yeah. What comes out of this in terms of fair use in YouTube, there is they've drawn a line where any content that's not yours, that you do not own or have a license to, you just can't use it.
Or
Even
in
if
Justin Bieber's case yesterday, even if you do own it or have a license to it.
It can be taken down, and then you have to try and get it reinstated. There are all sorts of uses, educational uses for materials that are under fair use laws. So the strictness of what they're doing should also be adjusted along with these new regulations that they're putting up. It just seems like if they're going to go this far, they're going to become a copyright standard holder.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Nazi.
No, didn't say that. Didn't go there. But if they're going to create this role for themselves, they really need to take in all of the uses in-house in what they're implementing.
Meanwhile, in my opinion, the best attack against infringing content is to put the actual content available in an easy-to-find way. We've got several examples of that today in the news. First of all, the BBC is going to launch their iPlayer catch-up service as a subscription-only product around the world, starting in the United States sometime after the first of the year. So you'll be able to get BBC shows worldwide. Whether they will black out certain shows until they've aired in the United States or not has been I have not been able to find a good answer to. I bet they will, though, which will kind of undermine that. But BBC shows available for streaming through the iPlayer. That's cool, right?
Yeah. iPad only, we talking, or are we getting other devices?
Yeah, for now. They said they're going to add other devices later, but it'll launch on iPad.
Yeah. That's good. I think for that to work, you need to be as ubiquitous as possible. It's one of the problems I have with the current revolution in content delivery on the iPad is when they're iPad only. As much as I love my iPad, I feel like they're locking themselves in and locking out a lot of people. So it'd be cool if they expand that list and we see it on more devices than that.
Netflix is trying to move into Hulu's space by bidding on more television shows, new episodes of television shows that are in their current season, offering $75,000 to $100,000 per episode as syndication rights. Now, that may sound like a lot, but it actually isn't, considering that sometimes these things go for millions in syndication when you watch them on independent channels.
Yeah, but Netflix is going to be up against the conflict between who owns the shows, and they're even though they're willing to pay this money, that doesn't mean they're going to get the episodes anytime soon. They can say, "Look, we have cash," but there are the content creators and there are the networks. The networks say they have the license and they have the license for the season to play that episode and to have the rights to it. The content creators go, "No, it's ours. We made it. We own it. We should be able to sell it to whomever." So there's a fight going on there that Netflix is kind of inserting itself into the middle.
Well, and the fight is even inside of those two organizations about whether they should try out these experiments or not, because that's what they see Netflix as, is an experiment. They don't want to give them too much power too soon because they think that's what happened to the music industry with iTunes.
Yeah.
So is Netflix trying to literally get into the Hulu business? That is like day after a show airs, here it is on Netflix as an option in your streaming, or are we still talking about what they do traditionally?
No, that's what they would like. They would like to, wow. I mean, and they've done that before. They've had like current episodes of Heroes back when that was on TV show up shortly afterwards. So it's not the first time they've done it. It's just they're going after it very aggressively, at least according to the New York Post.
They have that deal with the Stars Network as well, where they'll show, their...
Well, and that's going to be up for renewal, and the movie industry is wanting to really hike up the price on that because they regret making that deal with Netflix in a few ways, because they feel like it's undermined their ability to license these movies to other places.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Hulu's not resting. They are talking about going global, citing an unmet need for online television service in markets around the world. Hulu CEO Jason Kilar told the Wall Street Journal his company would be willing to take on additional investors to accelerate its expansion worldwide and bring shows around the world to places that are waiting for them to come in syndication.
You in the UK. You in France.
Well, if you're going to say you too, you should say Ireland.
Ireland, right. Africa. You too can see the world's biggest loser.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
quality television coming to you from Hulu.
Jersey Shore, finally.
Are you smarter than a fifth grader?
Our olive branch to the world. People can finally see that terrible thing.
The world needs American television, and Hulu is here to give it to them.
You joke all you want. The world wants it, though. There is a demand out there for this stuff, right or wrong. And Hulu is right to do this. What this is doing, and these two things together, actually with the BBC as well, is showing that there is a river of content flowing to the internet.
Yeah.
And you can put up barriers, you can put up dams, you can try to reroute the river, but you're not going to stop it. It is coming. And this is what we see time and again, is you see companies trying to stop the flow. Like, let's not agree to Netflix's cash. Let's make Hulu forced to get other investors, and let's put roadblocks in the way. But you won't stop it. This stuff will continue to happen.
Yeah, if you go anywhere in Europe, you'll find people there who want to watch American programs. They're looking for them online, finding them all sorts of different sites all over the place, getting their hands on them. Why not, as the either networks or the content creators themselves, why not try and take control of that and not allow it to go out to pirates, not allow it to go out to mirror sites, and other things that are out there?
Because you don't want to throw away all the money you're getting, because you're getting a lot more money for on air, and you're getting a lot more money for the theater, and so you have to balance that stuff out.
Yeah, but you wouldn't be getting any money.
There's a wise and there's unwise ways to do it, and it's always ugly to watch in process. But the fact of the matter is, we're going to end up with everything being online. That's just,
well, yeah.
There's no way around.
This is like the music industry. You got to get their steel grip off of their stuff for just 5 seconds and make them see that, no, this can benefit you, because if you don't, you'll miss the boat completely, and people will either pirate the good stuff you're doing, or you'll not make enough money to make good content, so no one will care, and some other thing will rise from the ashes and make you all look stupid. So they have to get on this wagon, and it's ridiculous that that we're still dealing with things like, well, I'd really rather watch it on TV at Thursday at 7 o'clock and not skip commercials. We don't live in that era anymore. They've got to get over it.
And meanwhile, Google TV would like to make it easy for you to watch your television from the internet on your big television via the Logitech Review. Of course, all the major broadcasters are blocking the browser on that because they would want you to watch it on the television. But Google TV and Logitech Review have a secret weapon: Kevin Bacon.
Whoa.
Favorite actor? Oh, that's easy. Kevin Bacon, obviously. His best movie is probably a tie between all of them. I do a Kevin Bacon impression. This valley just one long smorgasbord. They're under the ground. It's Tremors. It's of me and Kevin. I've never actually met him. I had it commissioned. Am I obsessed with Kevin Bacon? I don't know. Obsessed is a strong word. I think I'm a devoted fan. And the Logitech Review is just perfect for me because I just type in Kevin Bacon, and it uses Google TV, finds all kinds of movies and shows and YouTube videos. So let's just say I happen to be in the mood for, I don't know, a movie about a rebellious teen who's living in a town where dancing is illegal. There it is. Let's dance! Yeah, my wife says if I watch any more Kevin Bacon, I might actually turn into Kevin Bacon.
Add Google TV to your television with the Logitech Review.
So there you go. Kevin Bacon now separated from Kevin Bacon by 1 degree.
1 degree. The one very creepy degree.
Let me tell you, there's something happening here that I think we should just at least be mentioned. They're impressing me with Kevin Bacon, so they got me on the Bacon.
How did that happen?
But as I'm watching that, I see a keyboard on the couch. I see a black box on a TV. I see windowed content, and it's Windows TV, dude. Like, I don't like that at all. Like, I don't like the whole idea of going back to 1995 and saying, here's this Windows TV idea. That was a terrible idea then, and that's what that looks like to me. And I don't know if that's interesting to me or not. I'm Kevin Bacon, you got me, but that other stuff, I don't know. Did you feel, am I wrong? Does that not look like Windows TV circa mid-90s?
I got 2 words for you, Scott. Kevin Bacon. You're talking about Web TV, right?
I'm sorry, did I say Windows TV? Web
Microsoft
TV.
Purchased Web TV. Ultimate TV. Remember Ultimate TV? TiVo's dead. Ultimate TV from Microsoft's going to kill it. Yeah. I agree with you there. I have to say. Let's take a break and thank our sponsor, Ford, makers of Ford and voice-activated sync. You know we've talked about it before. You know it's 911 assist, turn-by-turn directions, all hands-free with your Bluetooth phone as soon as you walk into the car or climb into the car. But there's a new program from Ford called the 2012 Ford Focus Global Test Drive, and it's your chance to get a sneak peek at the all-new Ford Focus coming early 2011. Now, that may sound kind of cool, like, oh, Ford Focus. It's a 5-door hatchback, 4-door sedan, 5-door wagon, 2012 Ford Focus. All right, I'd like to see that. It's got that active park assist so that, it kind of swings you into the parallel parking, makes that easier. Torque vectoring control, which hugs the curves, new fuel-efficient engines. That all sounds great, but we're going to make it over the top for you. Get a sneak peek at the 2012 Ford Focus for free in Spain, in Madrid, at Spain's National Institute for Aerospace Technology, where they test space rockets. So you'll be test driving the 2012 Ford Focus near space rockets. Do I need to tell you anything else? Well, I need to tell you the address. You have to go to TWiTFordFocus.com. But here's how you enter. You make a video. Ford's going to donate $10,000 to the charitable cause of your choice. So tell them what charity. Tell them why. Tell them why you should win. Submit that video entry. Keep it concise. It's like making a good video for TNT here. You want to keep it short, to the point, make it compelling, and then upload it at TWiTFordFocus.com. Upload it by December 31st for your chance to win the free trip to Madrid to test drive the 2012 Ford Focus. Google is also changing their search engine algorithm, which they do all the time. That's not news here. But there was that recent story in the New York Times about a guy who was claiming that he was getting all kinds of sales because the search engine ranking for mentions of his company were up because he was such a jerk.
Any kind of press is good press, right?
Yeah. He was mentioned so many times in bad stories that it actually helped when you searched for, what was it, eyewear? That his company would rise to the top because of the way the search ranking works in Google. So Google has said today that they are going to tweak the algorithm again to take into account opinion and rankings of businesses. So whenever they get those star rankings in Yelp, that sort of thing, will be worked into the algorithm. So you can't rise to the top because you're a jerk.
This is actually a really interesting step, and I think it's one that Google's been looking at and working towards for quite a while. I don't think that this is just this one New York Times article spurred them to suddenly make a change. I think that they know that this is an issue. They know that people are always trying to game their algorithms, and taking the social graph into context. What do people think about something? That this is one of the first steps. There might be other steps that go beyond this, but this is one of the first steps at incorporating how people are using this information to actually make the information more relevant.
What Google said is that they are going to flag merchants that provide an extremely poor user experience to start with. That's the simplest thing to do. But they're also going to continue to work on what they call sentiment analysis. And that's what you're talking about, which is bringing in that whole system of opinion to bear.
Exactly.
You know what? For Google search to remain as relevant as possible in a new kind of web I feel like we're entering into, which is a lot of pocketed, I hate to call them walled gardens, but Facebook and Twitter stuff is kind of separate, and other things are sort of separate, and opinions on Amazon product reviews, for example, is a good example of this. Mm-hmm. If they want to remain as relevant as possible and still provide the best search results, I think they have to embrace the greater circle of sort of social media and pull that stuff in. If they don't, they lose some of their relevance, in my opinion, because people will start to go to other services that aggregate opinion, and they'll start making choices based on that rather than what they found in a Google result. And I think that I'm sure they know this, and that's why they're doing it.
Yeah, they're looking at stuff like Facebook, where people are getting recommendations from friends. They're going to Amazon, like you said, and looking at the reviews, the customer reviews that for different products or for different sellers, and they see all this stuff happening. They can't control any of it, but they can use it somehow. So how can they become a really integral part of it?
Now, before you go and think, well, wow, this is a horrible problem. There's all these companies that are awful out there and rising to the top and making tons of money. Google themselves have said they don't think this guy was benefiting much from the negative reviews, but because it's gotten so much press, they're going to do everything they can to mitigate that from happening. And if you listen to This Week in Google here on the TWiT network, you can get a good explanation of what actually went on with this company. Yeah. It's not nearly as bad as a lot of the blogs made it sound.
It's also Google just not one guy, right? I mean, it's not one company we're even talking about here. This is a high-profile case, but surely this is, Well,
no, that's what I'm saying, is it really never happened, even in this case. It almost never happens. But Google is now saying, you know what, even if it doesn't happen a lot, even if this guy didn't benefit a lot from it, we're going to make sure that you can't do it that way. They're gonna try to stay a step ahead.
Yeah, and as much as I think it's important for them to get into the subjective aspects of the web, it's also a really it goes along with the question earlier in the show where we're talking about them trying to become an arbiter of language. Really, are they also becoming an arbiter of good taste? And how are they?
This is
designing their algorithm, and
this is the algorithm, right? And so as long as it's providing good results and not being gamed, that's all they're after with the algorithm. This is
going to be gamed.
It's always you're right. It's a war. It's a war that's going to continue on and on and on. Exactly. But this is they'll do this. Somebody will try to figure out how to game that and repeat
and
wash,
repeat.
rinse. Let's talk about NASA's big announcement. Let me see if I've got this right, Kiki. Okay, help me out.
Okay.
NASA discovered alien life in California.
No way.
They discovered a different kind of bacterial life.
They found so it's not actually alien life.
And if you mean from outside of the country,
right?
no.
That's what I read on the internet. It said there were alien life in California.
Well, it's not really alien. Alien in that it's different.
So it's not from outer space?
Not from outer space.
Okay, so...
Probably, we don't know where it's from.
Life of a kind we've never seen before. An entirely different form of life, right?
It's not entirely different either.
No, it's not entirely different form of life either.
No.
Okay.
No.
So it's not from outer space?
It's slightly different. And
How is it slightly different? This better be good. It better be able to live on poison or something.
That's exactly it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You're
that's
good.
Cool.
You got that one.
I like that. Tell me more.
This bacteria can live on arsenic.
And old lace? Just arsenic.
Maybe just arsenic.
No, this is really interesting. I'm just kidding about all the hype that was done about
There's
this.
There's been a ton of hype this week, and it's a huge... I kept seeing people get so excited about extraterrestrial life, alien life, blah, 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 all this stuff. And I'm like, calm down, everybody. But this is really exciting. It's exciting not for those reasons, but for... just the fact that this discovery opens up the possibilities for the different types of life that could exist in different places on our planet and also elsewhere in space.
Right. The fact that this bacteria can survive in high arsenic conditions mean that it opens up a whole new realm of possibilities for where life could exist on other worlds where they have this. And if I got this right, phosphorus is a key element in making DNA.
Yes.
And so arsenic mimics phosphorus, but usually breaks down the processes, and which is why it's poisonous to us.
Yes.
But this bacteria has figured out how to use arsenic in place of phosphorus.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
It was fascinating to listen to the scientists in the NASA press conference today. The lead scientist, Felisa Wolf-Simon, she just kept, at one point she got in this heated debate with one of the other NASA scientists, and he was saying, "Oh, well, there's not a lot of arsenic out there, and this is just very unlikely to occur," and blah, all these arguments against. And she goes, "In a test tube, it's easier. In just a few minutes, arsenic and other compounds will form amino acids naturally, arsenic-based amino acids, which are the building blocks of proteins." She's like, "It just happens. Phosphorus needs an enzyme. Phosphorus needs something to allow it to become the amino acid."
So if you want to jump to conclusions, you could say it's more possible for arsenic-based life to exist.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was a really interesting comment. The whole story, I think, is just fascinating, and yes, overhyped a bit all over the media. But the truth is that the hype is really cool. What gets me excited is that this was speculation. People have been speculating what they call the shadow biosphere, which I love the term. The fact that
it's like our shadow government.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, just like that. And the shadow biosphere could exist, and this is pretty much irrefutable experimental proof, validation of the speculation. This is what science is all about.
Yeah,
proof. There you go, people.
What science is not about is acquiring more and more companies, but that's what Zynga is about. And Zynga Game Network said Thursday it has acquired game startup New Toy. You might know New Toy as the publishers of Words with Friends, an app for your phone, or perhaps We Rule. viewers of TWiT may have heard of We Rule. They are the developers, not the publishers, but the developers of We Rule, and now Zynga owns them.
And We City, and We Doodle, and We Everything. They've got all those Wii games available on the App Store, and this is a big deal in that Zynga is slowly scooping up some serious development houses that make a lot of sort of social gaming apps, and this is, while not surprising, this is a big step toward like complete domination of that space. I feel like those guys are just on fire right now, and more power to them. I guess they understand the space better than anyone else, and we're all going to be virtual farmers one day, so why not?
Well, we're about there already, and Zynga is another one of those companies to watch. Oh. They are steamrolling. They're building faster than the eye can follow. And if you discounted them because they were just the Farmville folks, you better think again.
Think again,
What's interesting
people.
Is
they're crying wee all the way home.
There's a lot of my biggest problem is there's a lot of overlap with what both these companies do. So you have Farmville and a lot of other stuff on the Zynga side, and the Wii series of games, not Nintendo Wii, if anyone's confused, but all of those games are very similar. Like they're kind of Farmville ripoffs in a way. So I don't know. It's a weird. I don't think they're requiring them to shut them down, but it is still kind of a weird match.
All right. We also want to talk a little bit real quickly about Flipboard partnering with web publishers. We've talked about Flipboard before in Tech News Today back in July when they came out. They in the past took various RSS feeds that were pre-approved, as well as Twitter and Facebook, and turned it into a magazine-style interface. They have now partnered with specific publishers, ABC News, Bon Appetit, Lonely Planet, SB Nation, SF Gate, the San Francisco Chronicles website, Uncrate, and the Washington Post, as well as All Things Digital, to create Flipboard versions of those sites. So this is the SF Gate. This is the SF Chronicle in Flipboard. And you can just flip from page to page, and it automatically takes all of the.
That was nice.
It automatically takes all of the stories and just formats them magazine style on the iPad, and they say that they want to do this for more and more publishers.
But aren't they just providing an RSS reader? I mean, that's kind of what Flipboard does generally. It's just it's
Well, it's not an RSS reader though, because they don't just take in any RSS feed. That's one thing they say they can't do because they want to make it lay out properly, and they say RSS isn't good for that.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, the one thing that I think is really interesting about this on the publishing side is that right now they're working with fairly large publishers and middle-sized publishers, but they could also work with freelancers and independent publishers who don't necessarily have as big of an outlet as these larger publishers do, to create a place where freelancers or say writers for the New York Times who don't necessarily want to work or be employed by the New York Times all the time, they can have their own feed of information, their stories that they push out that can then be picked up by people and get ads on them, and they can become known for their own work.
He wants to, Mike McHugh, the CEO of Flipboard, says he wants to help publishers create their own iPadified content experiences to distribute themselves. So it's not about Flipboard being an aggregator so much as being a way for you to create a nice experience that breaks out of this web thing of a banner ad at the top and left side nav and gives you another way to experience content. All right, let's take a quick break and thank our other sponsor, Slingbox. Slingbox lets you watch your home TV wherever you want, breaks you out of your house. You can watch The Biggest Loser wherever you are in the world as long as you have an internet connection. All you do is you take Slingbox, you buy it. Don't just take it, pay for it. Bring it home, plug it into your internet connection, plug it into your television, and then install the software on your laptop, on your BlackBerry, on your iPhone, on your iPad, and you can watch your television programs. Everything you get, all the over-the-air stuff, any cable programs you pay for, any sports, live sports, any movie channels, whatever you got, you can watch it over the internet on your own devices wherever you are in the world with an internet connection. Except maybe behind the Great Firewall of China. I don't know if that works or not, but as long as they're not blocking you for some reason, it is perfectly legal to do this. You are paying for your internet connection. You're only broadcasting it back to yourself. You're paying for your cable connection. Nothing better than Slingbox. Try it out at a Best Buy near you or visit slingbox.com/twit. Time for the news views. Barry Diller is stepping down as CEO of IAC Interactive Corp. He'll remain chairman and senior executive. IAC, if you don't know, owns such fine products as Ask.com and Match.com. In fact, former Match.com CEO Greg Blatt will become IAC's new chief. IAC will lose Evite. Yeah, people still use Evite. I got one from Patrick Norton. Evite and Gifts.com. As Liberty Media, which did own a 60% stake in IAC, gives up that stake and takes the subsidiary that owns Evite and Gifts.com in exchange.
Gowalla 3.0 may have just stolen Facebook and Foursquare's thunder. Gowalla has fundamentally altered their app to allow you to check into not only their service, but also into Facebook's and even Foursquare's, becoming compatible with their chief rivals.
Oh, my goodness. The world is melting into each other. Microsoft launched its Xbox Live Rewards loyalty program in the U.S. and UK for all of us gamers who use Xbox. You can do things like sign up for Xbox Live, use Netflix or other normal activities. This is what you can do with your Xbox now. This earns you points, build up enough points, and you can cash them out for stuff like Xbox points that you can use toward other games and such, but also other junk. It kind of reminds me of... Tom mentioned it reminds him of greeting card sales crap in the 80s.
Sell 500 boxes of greeting cards and get this bicycle.
Kind of, but for me, it's like I go to an arcade, I play skee ball for an hour, I get 100 tickets, and I buy a plastic whistle. That's what this reminds me of. It's about that level of give back. But hey, it's free. You do have to sign up for it, though, folks. They do not automatically put your live account into the reward system. You have to go to the site and do it.
Rewards.xbox.com. You know, I like the way that browsers changed the color of a link to let me know I've already visited it. That's very handy. I don't like it when websites harvest that to steal my web history. Researchers at UC San Diego discovered 485 sites out of 50,000 that they surveyed that contained code that took advantage of a bug in older browsers that allowed them to steal the history based on the change color code. Chrome and Safari are not vulnerable to this bug. Neither is the most recent version of Firefox. IE users would have to enable private browsing to protect themselves from this bug.
Research in Motion is saying no to ugly by acquiring a Swedish design house called The Astonishing Tribe, or TAT. TAT has done a little thing you might know called the original Android interface.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, me too. As well as some other impressive concept UIs like Velvet and Augmented ID, which uses facial recognition software to associate social information with anyone viewed through a smartphone camera.
They are pretty looking people. Well, I don't know about the people,
to be pretty.
But their designs are pretty.
They have to be pretty now. Say no to ugly.
Google's love-hate relationship with the U.S. government just swung back towards love. It's very nice. Last month, they sued the Department of Interior over the bidding process for contracts. Today, they announced the government's General Services Administration is switching to Google for email and cloud services. Of course, Microsoft is quick to point out that most agencies still prefer Microsoft.
Make it rain, Google. I want your cloud services. Apple has been awarded a U.S. patent for a display system that would allow multiple viewers to see a high-quality 3D image projected on a screen without the need for special glasses, regardless of where you are sitting. I guess if you're behind the screen, it wouldn't work. But anywhere you're sitting in view of the screen. Uses could include medical diagnostics, flight simulation, air traffic control, battlefield simulation, weather diagnostics, advertising, and, of course, watching The Biggest Loser in 3D.
Wow. Kata Labs has released an open source framework for building browser-based virtual worlds. The software, called Kata Space, uses emerging web standards like WebGL and WebSockets. It allows users to interact with each other in a 3D environment that loads natively in a modern web browser without requiring any proprietary third-party plugins. We like
nice.
that.
I like that. Yeah. Although apparently everybody has to wear a hoodie. So they haven't done much.
With the avatars.
They haven't done much with the avatar clothing yet, but they'll get there. All right. Finally, GameString is demoing its streaming custom World of Warcraft UI. This is just crazy. You run World of Warcraft with their add-on, and then you run their server on your Adrenaline host server on your computer, and then you run their app on an HTC Desire, and from approximately 80 kilometers away, they were able to play World of Warcraft on the HTC Desire.
Yeah, this is all right. So, as an avid WoW player, maybe the most impressive thing about this is they're demoing this capability in the city of Dalaran, which is the most lag-filled, horrible place to be if you want to demonstrate something not lagging very much. Given that, it's kind of impressive what we're seeing here, but I don't know that I would ever really want to play the game this way. If I needed to quickly, I don't want to get off my butt, I need to go to the auction house and place a couple of orders or buy something and then log out again, I could kind of see that happening. But it doesn't seem like a very likely way for most players who are serious about the game to play. But
yeah, I wouldn't LFG a raid on ICC with this or anything.
No, you couldn't. The Ice Cream Citadel, is that it?
Yes, the Ice Cream Citadel. My favorite place to raid.
I don't know. I mean, I could see a lot of people might get them out of the house a little bit more.
They'll go to the park to play their World of Warcraft.
They could,
you can do that with a laptop. No, it's impressive, though. It's impressive that they're able to do this at all.
If you're on the bus, something else to do when you're commuting to work.
On to the calendar. Mark Zuckerberg will appear on 60 Minutes this Sunday. All I got to say is bring a sponge. On Live ushers in the micro console. If you want to play On Live Unlimited, you don't have to pay per game anymore. You can get an all-you-can-eat game plan for $10 a month starting now. LimeWire said it's going to shut down its store. A lot of you may not have realized they had a store where you could legally buy music, but LimeWire is shutting down its store December 31st. They're all but done. They've been ruined by that court case. And Verizon confirms contract-free 4G LTE options. Same rates as the regular contract ones, but higher prices for the modems, which makes sense. You don't get a subsidized price on the modem.
Hey, Tom, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Fast, I promise. Is that sponge for Zuckerberg or Morley Safer? Boom! Take that, Morley Safer.
I don't think it's Morley Safer because they know better than that, right? They're not gonna have Morley Safer interview Zuckerberg.
I hope not.
Leslie Stahl is interviewing. Thank God.
Babawa.
All right, don't forget to be a part of TNT this holiday season. We need you to help identify the best bits of tech news today. Both of them. Let us know the time code in the video, and you can fill it out at twit.tv/bestof, right?
Yeah, you can fill out the form at twit.tv/bestof or bit.ly/TNT Holiday 2010 for the details on the open mic interview as well.
On to the voicemail. We got one here, which is a warning for Verizon users.
Hello, TNT show. This is Jeremy from Charlotte, North Carolina. I have a Verizon tip and a Verizon warning for you. I have a MiFi and an iPad. I bought them separately before they had the bundle deal. But recently I went in and requested that they put me on the new data plan to avoid overage fees of $50 a gigabyte. Without having to do anything else, I switched to the 3 gigabyte, $10 gigabyte overage charges, and I'm much happier. The warning is if you have a MiFi, you need to go and have them put a text block on your MiFi, because I recently was charged for text messages sent to my MiFi that I never received. They said I did. So you might be being charged for something that you can't receive. Thanks, guys. Love the show.
It's always weirded me out because I have a Verizon account, but all I have on it is a MiFi, but they still give you a phone number. And then they charge you for incoming text messages?
And if you get texted and you're not paying for it, charged.
That's ridiculous.
Well, the phone number is probably more of an identification issue. But if somebody finds out about that number, a spammer or whoever, and they send a text there, what can you even do about it? You can't do a thing about it.
That's just
pay
crazy.
the bill.
On to the email, because we can't do anything about that. On to the email, TNT@twit.tv. And this one is from Derek, the tech teacher in Alabama, who says, while listening to your thoughts on Google Editions in episode 128, that's the new bookstore from Google coming out where you can read the books in any browser, he thought he'd offer his theory on why Google is making the move. Chrome OS. Since many tablets are touted for their use as e-readers, Google wants to offer a compelling in-browser book reader for use on Chrome OS tablets. I look for a Google Editions app to be front and center in the Chrome OS web app store. And there's actually an article on TechCrunch today saying it looks like the Chrome web store may be launching soon. So if it comes to Chrome, therefore it would come to Chrome OS, one would think, shortly thereafter. Of course, we still haven't seen any Chrome OS tablets, and we're not going to until after the first of the year, but...
That's going to be in
Good.
that's going to be in the prediction show, right?
Yeah. Good theory there, Derek.
Xmarks has said other companies were considering acquiring them, and now it's been announced that they chose LastPass. This is fantastic news. They seem like a great combination. I'm a big fan of cross-browser sync. The only bummer was that they're not making it an additional feature of LastPass Premium. Rather, they've added a separate $12 per year service called Xmarks Premium and provided a $20 per year bundle. There's still a free version of Xmarks. I signed up for the bundle as a LastPass Premium user, and the fee was prorated. That's from Paul.
Oh, LastPass is pretty awesome. Thanks, Paul, for sending that along, and I'm glad Xmarks finally found a home, and it's a good home.
Yeah.
I love the LastPass. All right, thank you, Scott Johnson, for being on the show. Where else can people find the 1,000 million things you do?
Oh, well, thank you. It's been a pleasure as always. The best place to find out what I'm up to these days is over at frogpants.com. They can find all the podcasts and everything. Or they can follow me on Twitter. I sort of report everything there. That's at twitter.com/extralife.
And don't forget to watch Green Tech Today, Dr. Kiki's Science Hour, and This Week in Science.
Booyah.
Because you should. It's the law.
It's the law.
The law of Kiki.
The law of science.
Thanks, everybody, for watching. TNT is available at twit.tv/TNT. You can email us, TNT@twit.tv, or give us a call. Leave us a message, 260-TNT-SHOW. We'll see you tomorrow.